We need to deal with the root of this evil rather than the fruit of this evil. And we need to ask ourselves some tough questions.
Your vote isn't just affecting you. Your kids' kids are coming. They are going to have to deal with what we choose today.
Start praying to God for wisdom, praying to God for ways that people can start to open their eyes to really the truth that's taking place around them, because this is such a critical moment in history.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Revelation in the News. I'm your host, Zach Drew.
I'm Sasha Vols.
And I'm Taylor Schlobohm.
So a lot of important things have happened this week, and we want to be one of your homes for alternative news that really you need to hear about, and you need to understand it through even a biblical perspective. One of the biggest news stories this week is absolutely shocking, and it says this: America is to hand off the internet in under 2 months. Now, this is from Washington Examiner. This isn't from, some crazy conspiracy news site. This is from the Washington Examiner, and many other sites have actually been reporting on this as well. And it says this within the article: the Department of Commerce is set to hand off the final vestiges of American control over the internet to international authorities in less than 2 months, officials have confirmed. So the very last portion of control that America really has over the internet, we're dishing it out to several different countries throughout the world. So we're pretty much taking away a lot of the power that we have over the internet and giving it to other countries. Some of the largest stakeholders, if you will, in this is China and Russia. It says the move means the Internet Assigned Numbers Authority will move from U.S. control to the International Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers, a multi-stakeholder body that includes countries like China and Russia. There are many critics of this move, rightfully so, because you're probably at home scratching your head thinking, why in the world would we be doing something like this? I don't remember voting on this subject. Yeah. And it says, critics of the move have pointed out, this is from Washington Examiner, have pointed out the agency could be used by totalitarian governments to shut down the web. To shut it down, to shut down the web, whether either in whole or in part.
And Zach, as I was reading further down the article, this really stood out to me. It says opponents similarly made the case that Congress has passed legislation to prohibit the federal government from using tax dollars to allow the transition, and pointed out that the feds are constitutionally prohibited from transferring federal property without the approval of Congress. And here we have the Constitution being challenged again.
So what you're just saying is that they actually can't do this without approval from Congress.
That's exactly what
That's what the law actually states. But yet they've done it. They've done it without the approval of Congress. They've completely bypassed it to push this through. And there's a goal in mind, which there was some wording in there, that when are they trying to get this through?
I mean, right here it says the administration has expressed a desire to finish it before the president leaves office.
So you obviously know that there's some strings attached in this particular scenario.
Yeah. Well, and it just doesn't make sense. I mean, how is it even possible that the Congress they haven't even passed this? There's no vote. There's no talk about this. And literally, we found out about this because of an article, not because the president came out and let us know, not because there was a vote put out there to the people saying, do you feel like we should give one of our biggest assets away to a global power? No, there was never a conversation about this.
And just to think that there are so many things that America has that makes it powerful. And we're going to go over some of those today. Because if you really truly made a list of what makes America great, what makes America powerful, what makes a country powerful, there's a systematic plan that we are simply giving those things over to foreign authorities. We're basically saying we have so much power. There have things that have been passed through that you and I did not vote about. Yeah. It's almost like we're divvying up the power throughout the world. It's almost like there's a socialistic tendency. Socialism is taking place behind the scenes.
On a global scale.
On a global scale. Where we have the most, so to speak, and so we're kind of dishing it out to countries like Russia, like China, to like countries in the Middle East that we don't trust, that do not have our best interests in mind, And it's to even the playing field out. It's socialism.
But that's the key right there. If you think about those other countries, like you mentioned, China and Russia, would either of them, in the same circumstances as the United States, would they give the power away? Would they be giving their power, their superpower in the world, away to the other countries and divvying it up to say everybody has power in the world and we just want to make everybody equal? That's not equal, because they would not do this for us.
Exactly.
We're just diminishing our powers. So for what reason? To watch this global socialism act play out right before our eyes.
Mm-hmm. And there have been some major religious leaders that have spoken about this
and
as well.
Zach, actually, I have Franklin Graham's statements right here. It says, Evangelist Franklin Graham is calling President Barack Obama his decision for the United States to relinquish government control of a key component of the internet to a private organization. He's saying it is dangerous and a shame. Wow. But that's just another person standing up and saying, why are we doing this? What is the point of this? And he goes on to say, it's another decision in a long line of bad policy moves by our government. This could potentially weaken our country and allow access that could bring us harm.
Yeah.
After doing further research, this is not just a national security problem. This is an endangerment for, I think, American evangelism.
Oh, yeah.
I looked at through Christianity Today. It says that over 17 million non-churchgoers visited church websites in the last 12 months. That's a pretty big number. You have people that are going on the websites. We're so dependent. America, everyone uses the internet. We look at our news, we go to see what's out there, especially people who don't have access to God on every day. They can find it on the internet. Imagine if places like China or Russia or anyone that doesn't agree with our religion beliefs, what's going to happen to these websites?
Sure.
It's the death of American evangelism, or the beginning of it at least.
And see, it's like, are these things going to take place immediately? It's, on October 1st, when it's going to be, whenever it's going to be pushed through, that we're given the final portions of authority over to international control, are they instantly going to take out the Christian websites? Probably not. Probably not. But they now have the power to.
Yes.
You see, I always talk about how if you have to think about a play, okay? You have to think about a play. You have to think about a stage, okay? Now, you have to set that stage with certain props so that the play can go forward. Well, we're in the end days play of Revelation, okay? And the play is about ready to begin, and we know it because there has to be certain elements on the stage for the play to begin. There has to be certain props on the stage for that play to begin. The props are there. So it's like whenever the play begins, it's like, how in the world can it's going to blindside so many people that they're taking away Christian websites and things like that. But we're going to be sitting there understanding, my goodness, they did this several years ago.
Yeah.
And now we're starting to see the fruit of that. And
well, and even aside from that, what really frightens me about this is the fact that you look at it and you're seeing the other players that have access now. So you're looking at it as a global state. Who has access? These are not just people that are our allies, but these are also people that are our enemies. And so when you say the enemies have complete and total control, as much as we do, but they have control over what we're doing in our nation now. They have control. They can potentially use this to even really block our internet access. They can use this to be able to, anything that we access on our internet, they can use this further down the road to be able to block us and be able to take away our internet access.
And like we've seen before, terrorists are using social media and the internet to figure out what's going on. I mean,
and even start cyber wars.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so here's the thing. Should we be surprised? Should we be surprised that America is destroying herself? Because see, here's the thing. We're going on with business as usual. We're going on with just daily life while our leadership is giving away our power. Giving it away. Systematically destroying America. You see, should this whole giving away the internet thing, should it surprise you? Should it make you angry? Yeah, it should make you angry. But this isn't the first time something like this has happened. You see, I always speak to whenever current events take place, it's as if we have a short-term memory. And if anything happened more than 6 months ago, we forget about it. You see, the internet thing will be completely shocking to you if you have already forgotten other things that have taken place. Like, here's a short list. We have closed our coal mines. We have either closed our coal mines in America or we have sold them to China. to foreign control. Once again, we've talked about this before. One of the very, very basic things that make a country great is natural resources. If you can take away a country's natural resources, you can destroy that country. And our current administration has completely either closed the coal mines, our natural resources, or they have sold them to China. That is shocking as well. Another shocking thing is that we vetoed the Keystone Pipeline, where we wouldn't have to, the whole oil, we would have oil in America when we wouldn't have to rely on the Saudi Arabian government, which just in the past 4 decades has given over $130 billion to fund their evangelism, which is Wahhabism.
Yeah.
That is the single most radical form of Islamic terrorists. And where did they get that money primarily from? The United States. But yet we vetoed the Keystone Pipeline because of environmental reasons.
Well, and even on top of that, that was an excuse. That is an excuse made up by the government to say, oh, the people, we're giving the people what they want because they don't want to hurt the animals and they care about our water, they care about these things. Well, do the people in Saudi Arabia not matter? Do the animals?
The environment?
Yeah. Do the animals in Saudi Arabia not matter? Does the environment's water or natural resources over there, they don't matter? But we want to just keep America safe. That's not the key. That's really, it's just a distraction from the fact that they're funding Saudi Arabia to fund terrorism.
Well, and that's another thing. Keep America safe, right? Well, everyone knows it. We're disarming our nukes. We are decreasing our nuke count.
Yeah.
How are we supposed to defend ourselves as a nation if we don't have anything to protect ourselves? We don't plan on using it, but to get rid of them, there's something going on.
So once again, if you think that giving away the final portion of control to the internet to foreign authorities is shocking, it's simply because you've forgotten all the other things that this current administration has done, like closing the coal mines or selling them to China, like vetoing the Keystone Pipeline, like disarming our nukes. Because once again, what makes a country great initially is, I believe, in a democracy, certain checks and balances, but also natural resources and a strong military.
And correct me if I'm wrong, did any of us have any vote on any of this?
No, we didn't.
Oh, okay. I was just
and see, and this is supposed to be a republic where we have certain people representing our beliefs, what we believe should take place, because it's we, the people, that are supposed to govern the United States. Yeah. And so here's the thing. This is crazy, the internet thing is, but it's not nearly as crazy whenever you understand that there's already been a systematic plan to diminish America, to give away power to other countries and put us under foreign control that's ultimately going to punish us in the long run. And just to add this, I have another article here from the New York Times. Obama readies one last push for the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Trans-Pacific Partnership. Now, it says here, yet President Obama is readying one final push for approval of the Trans-Pacific Partnership, the largest regional trade agreement ever between the United States and 11 other Pacific Rim nations. So what does this have to do with anything, Zach? This is, once again, socialism at its finest. This is this Trans-Pacific Partnership that Obama is trying to push through one last time before he leaves office. It's billed as free trade, okay? Remember about the trade deals right now that we're currently experiencing, that Donald Trump has a lot to say, how we have an $800 billion deficit annually because of our bad trade deals. That means we're losing $800 billion every year just because of our bad trade deals with other countries. Well, this is basically billed as free trade, but it's going to put, once again, America under foreign control, under a one world trade system that's going to punish America. It's basically NAFTA on steroids, okay? Should this surprise you? Should it? It doesn't surprise me. It just doesn't anymore. With the list of that we've talked about of giving away the internet, closing the coal mines, vetoing the Keystone Pipeline, disarming our nukes, we would have to be absolutely crazy to think that there is not an agenda to diminish America's power.
And at this point, it really looks at it, like if you look at it and you really study like global politics and you see, okay, what's happening? Why is all of this happening and who is actually getting this power? You start to see that there is elite group that actually has control over these things and that are making these decisions, pushing these acts forward. And you start to wonder, why are they doing it? Because they have an elitist plan. There's a whole world behind what we see. And the fact that we think that we have any control over it, that's where it's really sad, because right now, as all of these things are happening and we see law after law being passed, and we're thinking, oh, we're being progressive, we're moving forward, we're getting away from how horrible America was before. We're not realizing what we're stepping into at this point. We're not real, because global. You think global, you're thinking, wow, everybody's included, everything's inclusive. But like when you look at what it really means, it's a global control. It's not even that you're even looked at as an individual anymore. You looked at as just a number. You're looked at as just nothing, because there becomes a global environment, and they make these decisions, and it affects everybody globally. There's no individuals anymore.
That's so true. So we have this list that we've been developing for this show so far, and I don't know if you'd want to call it the cherry on top or the final bow on this gift or whatever, but this one, if the others didn't shock you, this one really will shock you. It shocked me. I had just been recently studying about it, and I would encourage. I'm going to share some stuff that it's actually so shocking. I'd actually really encourage you to go and look it up and study it for yourself, because, quite frankly, you might not believe what I'm about ready to say. It's called the National Defense Authorization Act, and one comes out about every year. But there was some very interesting wordage that was added to the one that took place in 2012. Remember, the end time stage, there has to be some props on the stage. There has to be certain elements that have to be there before things can move forward. And let me tell you right now that one of the biggest props was signed into existence on January 1st of 2012. And that's the National Defense Authorization Act. I've been studying it initially from Chuck Missler, and you can find other sources from Forbes magazine, New York Times, Washington. I mean, just basically, it's all over the place. But I'm going to quote Chuck Missler, because I think he said it the most accurately. In what will be remembered as the most traitorous executive signing ever committed against the American people, President Obama signed a bill on New Year's Eve which essentially eliminated the Bill of Rights. The sacred Bill of Rights, wow. It's gone, okay? It's derived from sacred principles of common law. The Bill of Rights has come to a sudden and catastrophic end with the president's signing of the National Defense Authorization Act, the NDAA, a law that grants the U.S. military legal right to conduct secret kidnappings of U.S. citizens, followed by indefinite detention, interrogation, torture, and even murder. This is all conducted completely outside the protection of law, that with no jury, no trial, no legal representation, and not even any requirement that the government produce evidence against the accused. It is a system of outright government tyranny against the American people, and it effectively nullifies the Bill of Rights. It nullifies the Constitution. It's an evaporation of our foundation. That's what it is.
Wow.
Now understand that this is not just a proposal, okay? This isn't a proposal. This isn't just a threat. It has happened. It has already happened. It's already signed. It's already in place. Did you know about it? Because I didn't.
Yeah.
And it shocked me. And as I started, because what they do is they pass just these enormous, basically books, these acts, and there's certain language within it. Go ahead.
Well, I just have to ask you, Zach, you were talking about this earlier. First off, like you said, 2012, why none of us, you told me this in the back room, and I had no idea. I've not heard of it. I've not seen it. This is real, and it's happening. I actually had to get on and research this myself. But also, who is this a threat to? Who has to worry about this? Because with the federal government going behind the shadows, deciding you're a terrorist, bringing you in, who does this affect? Who do we have to, I mean...
Exactly.
That's a great question.
And see, and another thing, and I'm going to address that, another thing that you were talking to me about in the back room was, so has this been already happening and we just don't know about it? I don't know. I would say probably not. But once again, it's a prop.
Yeah.
And so whenever they want to use it, whether it's 4 years from now or 15 years from now, when they start just illegally kidnapping U.S. citizens and giving them indefinite detention, interrogation, torture, and even murder. Where in the world did this come from? Are you kidding me? This was signed into law all the way back in 2012. It's another prop of the end times play.
So basically, just to break it down real quickly, so you're saying that if they consider you a terrorist,
that's
a
it.
United States citizen, if they, of which the federal government,
Yes.
federal
US
government,
military,
they consider you a terrorist. You're a U.S. citizen. But if you comply with something that's on their terrorist list, they decide, okay, we're going to pull them. We're going to pull them, detain them, torture them, possibly murder them, and interrogate them. But that's the thing. It's like, these are U.S. citizens. These aren't just terrorists coming over the border. These aren't people that we don't know about. These are people. This could be your neighbor. This could be you.
Sure.
But if you go against something that they believe is terrorism, that's where it comes from. And yeah, that sounds like a great thing because we want to detain terrorists. We want to protect our people. But, and I know Zach's about to get into it, but let's look at what they consider terrorism first.
Here's from Forbes magazine, codifying into law, talking about the NDAA, codifying into law the indefinite detention of terrorism suspects without trial. The NDAA authorizes the military to detain even U.S. citizens under the broad new anti-terrorism provisions provided in the bill, once again without trial. This is an evaporation of our foundation.
Wow.
This means we've just thrown out the window separation of powers, rule of law, habeas corpus, the right to be a fair trial and to be represented. We're just throwing the Constitution out the window. Simply, they can do any of this if they simply just label you a terrorist. Okay? By what definition? That's the thing. By what definition? If they can simply just hold you indefinitely, interrogate you, murder you, torture you and murder you because they label you a terrorist, it's very important to understand who exactly are the terrorists. Well, once again, we got to go into history a little bit. 7 or 8 months ago now, I suppose, in October of 2015, Loretta Lynch, with some of the other members of the Obama administration, went to the United Nations to propose a global police force. That means global. That means it would entail the United States as well. And this global police force is to fight, from Loretta Lynch says this, is to fight extremism. Okay? Extremism. To fight terrorism.
Which sounds great if you're thinking of ISIS.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because what in the world can the United Nations mean? Which we know the United Nations is a Sharia-compliant organization. They favor the Islamic community. That's Sharia law. That's extremists. So if they're a Sharia-compliant organization and they want to fight extremists, who in the world are these extremists? Who are these terrorists? Well, you got to go back a little further to 2013. Our current administration, by using the means of the military, debriefed a part of the army, and they went through a list of the number one extremists, the number one terrorists, the number one threats to our national security here in America. And it was a list of 5 or 6 groups of people. And this is 2013, so it was before the time of ISIS. So on this list, you had Al-Qaeda, you had Hamas, you had Hezbollah, and a couple of others. But the number one threat, the number one extremist that they mentioned, this is from WorldNet Daily, that they mentioned of terrorists, evangelical Christians.
And there it is.
So let's go back to January 1st of 2012 when the NDAA was signed by President Barack Obama with some interesting wordage that all they have to do is label you a terrorist and they can indefinitely detain you, interrogate you, torture you, and even murder you. And I believe that we could be those terrorists. And I'm reminded of Matthew 24. Well, they will hand you over and they will persecute you. Why? For my name's sake.
Yeah.
The end times table is set up, and there is a systematic taking out of America and America's power, and we are currently completely losing the republic. That's the bottom line. We're losing America as we go on with life as we know it. We were the first nation in the history of the world to be governed by the people. And for that to take place, how can we be governed by the people? We're born into sin. We have evil natural desires. We understood that we had to first be governed within, and that was by the Lord. If you take away morality, if you take away religion, our government fails. And that's actually John Adams said, we have no government unbridled by morality and religion. We have no government. Our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to a government of any other. You take the core things that make our country great, natural resources, the internet, a strong military. What is one of the other things, if you could kind of group of the things that make America great, I would say pay attention to those things on your personal list and see if they try to take those things out. Because one of those other things, as John Adams said, second president of the United States, one of our forefathers, that we have no government unbridled from morality and religion. That one other thing that they're systematically trying to take out is morality and religion.
Yeah.
Well, I just recently, I'm not going to name the movie, but I challenged people to look at the hidden agenda behind everything. And this movie condoned forgetting religion, forgetting the higher standards, live for you, live for what is right, get rid of the higher moral standards. And this is in a movie where everyone could go to the theaters. It's always hidden, whether it be media, whether it be a movie. There is a push to get rid of these higher standards, and I think it's because they're kind of trying to get rid of the Constitution. I mean...
Oh, yeah, sure.
Well, and at this point, we're seeing so much of it, but that's where you have to make sure that you're preparing yourself. You're preparing your heart and making sure that no matter what comes, whether we see attacks on U.S. soil, whether we see the government taking over, whatever it could be, we talked about all these different subjects, make sure over everything else, make sure that your life is right with the Lord. Make sure that your heart is where it needs to be and focused on the Lord, that your eyes are focused on the Lord, because right now we're entering a time, which we are in this time, that things are getting so much darker. And as we talk about on this show all the time, the gray is being abolished. You're either going to have to choose one way or you're going to have to choose another, but there's no middle ground on a lot of these things anymore. And you're going to see more and more that you can't take a back seat to these issues anymore. And that's why it's so important to get out there and vote this year. Make sure you put your vote into the 2016 elections, because no matter what, we have a chance to get our country back into a line that we can start to make ourselves better again. But if not, without our repentance back to the Lord, without our nation's repentance back to the Lord, and without our vote in the right place, really, what can we expect? So make sure you do it.
Yes, because Donald Trump cannot save America. Hillary Clinton will just throw us off the edge. Donald Trump can't save America, but he can back us up a few feet from that ledge. He can do that. Yeah. He can do that. But the only thing that at this point can ultimately save America is Jesus Christ and Jesus Christ alone.
Amen.
Amen. Well, wow, this show should illustrate to you the true times that we're living in through the perspective of news that you might not have heard. And that's why, once again, Revelation in the News, we want to be one of your homes for alternative news. I'm Zach Drew, and this has been Revelation in the News, and we'll see you next week.